Welcome to Loop News. It's Small Business Saturday, and today we have Miss Paullete McField talking about her new book, The Adventures of Tim and Chippa. So, Miss McField, tell us a little about your book, Adventures of Tim and Chippa.
So the book is based around the adventures of a young boy whose name is Tim and his pet parrot, Chippa. They're going around to different locations on Grand Cayman, exploring the scenic views and also meeting up with friends and family along the way.
And how did you come up with this idea of the book?
Well, this idea was something I had in mind for a very long time, but it was a friend of mine that advised me to just start writing, because each year I kept saying, I want to write a book. And she's like, just start, Paullete. Start writing. And so I just always knew that I wanted to write about my country. And I also wanted to have something that educates young readers about Cayman's culture and our heritage.
And why did you think it was important to educate the readers about culture and heritage of Cayman?
I think it's very important to find ways to educate not only just young Caymanians, but all young children about Cayman's history and heritage, because it's some way that I believe it's important to preserve and maintain our identity as Caymanians.
You mentioned different places in Cayman. What were those places that Tim and Chippa end up exploring in Cayman?
So in the book, Tim and Chippa, they explore each district. So the first place that they visit is Cayman Turtle Center. And then they make their way down to 7 Mile Beach, and they go throughout the islands, stopping at other key locations. I don't want to disclose too much.
Is there something you want to teach about each location that you visit, or is it just a tour of the island?
No, as Tim and Chippa are exploring, they're meeting with friends and family, whether it's an animal or it's friends that are visiting from another country. So they're just meeting people because we're just coming over COVID. So we weren't able to see persons. So now they're getting back out there, visiting and meeting people. And capturing these moments, Tim is taking photos as he goes along.
So you mentioned COVID. So was this written during the time of COVID?
Around COVID. I think I started in February 2021. Around that time I started writing this book.
So is the book impacted by the events of COVID?
Not necessarily. It's just in the beginning it's mentioned that they're going back out to have these adventures and to catch up, because now we're now allowed to see and explore and do everything else that we were normally able to do before COVID.
So when you talk about the other animals that Tim and Chippa meet, can you describe some of those other animals?
Well, at Cayman Turtle Center, they meet up with turtles and a shark and a barracuda. And when they go to North Side, they end up going to visit stingrays. So there are different animals throughout the story.
How long can someone expect to complete the book?
Well, I think it's an easy read. So the page is about 35 pages, but I think it's an easy read that's going to captivate any persons that decide to read the book. I know young and old have purchased, said that they enjoyed reading the story.
How does your book differ from, I would say, the average children's book?
I believe that my book actually is different because it stands out. It is a book that persons can connect with, and they can identify different scenes and resonate with the experiences, because it's about Cayman and probably locations that they already visited.
So are you focusing more on Cayman readers, or are you focusing on Cayman readers and visitors who would like to learn more about Cayman?
The book is for all persons. I've had persons that were visiting Cayman actually contact me and said that they've purchased the book, and persons that are not from Cayman, children that are not from Cayman, that I went to school readings. They loved the book. They even learned stuff that they didn't know about Cayman. It is for all readers, whether they're from Cayman or not.
Is there a particular scene of the book that you were really excited about, that you wanted to convey to readers?
So my favorite scene in the book would be when Tim and Chippa visits his great-grandmother, and then he says to her before he leaves, "I love you, Granny. I'll come back to see you next weekend." That is my favorite scene because those are some things that I wish that I could say again to my late brother as well as my late grandmother. And I obviously cannot do that right now, so that would be my favorite scene.
So other than the places that Tim and Chippa visit and the education lesson that you want to impart on your readers, are there any things other than that that you want readers to take away from the book?
I want readers to understand the importance of family and ensuring that they capture those wonderful moments and slowing down and the interaction that they shared with loved ones, because those are things that I cannot do anymore with my late brother or my late great-grandmother.
So let's talk a little about your process of writing. For people who don't write, they assume that everything comes naturally to you. You sit down one day at the coffee shop and you just write a book. But can you explain something about the process so our listeners and readers can actually relate to this whole process?
I ensured that I set aside some time each week because I have a very busy schedule. I work full-time, I go to college part-time, and I have other commitments. So ensuring that I had a routine with setting aside at least 50 minutes a week and being focused on which deadline and my deadlines that I want to achieve for the week.
So overall, how much time do you think you spent on this book?
I can't say exactly, but I think about maybe a few months. It took me about a few months to write the book, the first draft of the manuscript, but that was with me stopping and probably about a few months.
Before you started writing, did you do any initial research?
Yes, I did. I ensured that I did research on whether or not there were any similar type of books already published. I also did research on the characteristics and the little mannerism of children and stuff that children would like.
Now, seeing a Caymanian write this book and making it come to life, I'm sure you're going to inspire a lot of young people. What advice would you give to a young person who wants to write a book or who's just interested in writing generally?
Well, my advice would be to any person that wants to write a book is to just start. Just start and to tell your story like only you can. I would also suggest the person to be true to themselves. There's something unique in all of us, and not to mask it off and trying to be like anybody else. I would also suggest that they do careful research on the persons and the businesses they decide to hire. And lastly, I would advise them to read every contract in detail. And if they're not sure, seek legal advice.
So how can readers find your book? Is it located in all of the bookstores here? Is it online? Is it ebook? How can they get it?
The books are currently available at Next Chapter, the Cayman Islands National Museum, National Gallery, as well as Goodness in Town. So people can follow me at Paullete McField, which is PAULLETEMCFIELD, and also on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Well, thank you, Paullete. This is a wonderful book, Adventures of Tim and Chippa, and I hope everyone goes out and buy it, and I hope that you continue to have great success.
Thank you.